back at it again. Because I just can't get enough of this bullshit. Okay, so today we're going to be focusing on a completely different mod from the last one. You know, Pax von der Valkyrie was more of a lost in the sauce history sort of bullshit, where about like 3 or something years ago, a bunch of people got together, had some fun, and created a mod. This one is either half in development, dead, or both at the same time. And I hate it, and I love it, and I want it, and it's wrong. But, you see, there are two main factors you need to understand, not just because this is the second episode, but also because there are two parts of this fucking mod. There is Red Spectre and Faustian Torment. You see, Red Spectre originally was a mod conjured in the head of some Portuguese woman in about 2021 or 2022, and she began to create a mod based on it. Then, in 2023, it morphed into a new idea, because Red Spectre, you know what, I'm allowed to say as much information as I want, seeing as this is all public. There's no doxing included. You can find it on the Discord, or you can also find it in the Reddit. You can find it in everything. There's no official subreddit. I just kind of looked up Red Spectre and Faustian Torment on Reddit and found all the material on there. And also her YouTube channel has the exact same name, Femcel Estia. I don't know exactly what that means. But I do know for a fact that she has made both of these mostly single-handedly. Now, Red Spectre, she's a Red Flood developer right now, and right now, I don't know the person. I just know for a fact that's real, because this kind of admitting to stalking at this point on the internet, but I swear to God, it's all for the information about the, mods. I swear. Please believe me. But, back to the actual situation. Red Spectre originally was founded in 2022, and over the course of 2022, she released a bunch of teasers on the official Discord, which you can find in many different videos. If you just look up the word Red Spectre, you'll find multiple videos where you can find the Discord in the description. And it seems over the course of 2023, there was a change from Red Spectre to Faustian Torment due to the fact that she seemed to think that Red Spectre was more akin to Red Flood and more connected and less original than the original. Less original than what you probably wanted. That's what I'm guessing, and also that's what she rewrote. I have it somewhere. A really good metaphor for it. There it is. There we go. That's familiar. But here's what I drew as a representation. So, starts up here, goes here. In 2023, kind of morphed from the beginning of the year. It started as Red Spectre, but by the end of the year, it morphed into Faustian Torment, which is completely different every single way. Red Spectre is a modern day 2019, which I think is only dwarfed by The Fire Rises and how recent it takes place. But beyond that, it's recent. Red Faustian Torment seems more like it. I don't know if I'm just misconstruing it, but it seems more of a earlier sense. One, because it has Michael Chukachevsky, Vlasov, and a couple other, 20th century individuals for Russia. But also, yeah, that's the best point. It seems more just a continuation of a bunch of events in the 1800s, those being the point of divergence, which I'll get onto later. But first of all, let's actually get into the mod itself. Now, back when I was originally thinking about this, I thought that I'll explain in a minute, but this is the best representation of the mods, or it would have been the mods, logo. There was another one, but she dumped that one. So, okay, this is what I originally thought. That I was having a conspiracy between the two. Either that it's the exact same mod, that there's just like massive changes and I just didn't read far enough in the Discord or to find out, or they're completely different, separate mods. It's almost in between at this point, because it looks completely different. It has different like characters, or basically just countries, except for one. Except for one. Iberia. More Portugal, but, I'll get to that in a minute. But it seems that this is the Faustian Torment side, and I made a very easy to understand key for the rest of these pieces of paper that I drew on. An L is for Red Spectre sort of stuff, and W is for Faustian Torment related stuff. Now, in the separate mod conspiracy, we have a completely dead Red Spectre that just died in the cradle. Faustian Torment was born from its ashes and is completely different. And it seems like that too, because it has different ideologies, it's got different ideals, it's got a different Europe entirely. It looks more early 20th century and like I just said, even more 20th century characters. But also, the way that they described it in the Discord, I'm going to say she, because there's a majority opinion that it probably is. Or they, I don't really know, man. I can go either way. I'm talking about the mod, I shouldn't be really having a discussion with myself. But still, they were describing it in more of a evolutionary sort of way, where instead of just axing all of Red Spectre, it seems like they kind of just moved some of the ideas over to Faustian Torment due to the fact that they wanted a more original mod, instead of Red Spectre being seen as more of a jump-off point from Red Flood. And that's where we get the Iberian connection. And I'll expand on that later. Or right now. Either way. This is real. I probably should have organized this, but I'll start with a map. There we go. Okay. Red Spectre. This requires a little bit of a key to understand it. There we go. Now, the map includes that of... fuck. This is so confusing with all this bullshit. You see, originally, in many of the earlier photos around the earlier parts of 2022, there was either a majority like just baby blue Russia, or a green one in a very few amounts of pictures, or teasers. But that Russia was included, it owned Crimea, it had proxy states in Luhansk and Donetsk, and them alone were just... That's why I have this entire rap sheet of just bullshit areas that have inconsistencies that have ruined my mental state for the last couple days. But let's get on with the actual explanation of it, because that's what you're here for. But yeah, but in the final teaser for Russia from Red Spectre, it turned from just a regular Russia like Putin style to a separated and almost like Rubenesque. No, more of a just empty, not empty, but separated Russia, where there was like independent republics based within it, maybe like in some sort of faction within Russia that was kind of connecting them all, or they could be completely separate. I'll just pull up the map right now. There we go. This includes China, but I'll get to that later. But yeah, this is the last bit of Red Spectre Russia that I ever got to, or that was ever released. And it had a main Russian People Union that stretched from just original Russian borders to over here, a Far Eastern Republic, a Komi Republic, some Tartar Republic. It could have been really anything. I just don't understand what it was called. Kazakhstan's borders were, especially the northern area, was moved up a bit. Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, and Kyrgyzstan were all the same. China was the same. I was kind of iffy on Korea, where it had the same color as Japan, so it might be some, whatchamacallit, like, oh my god, they kept Korea for some reason. It probably isn't, but it's a modern day mod, but there was a Cossack nation. I couldn't read it, but I just kind of guessed that it was some sort of Cossack nation. There was a free Chechnya. I probably spelled that wrong. Finland has original everyday borders, but in a very early, very early teasers, probably because they were early in development and they hadn't changed the borders run yet, the Finland had its earlier 1930s borders, or 1920s borders, the stuff where it actually extended a little bit and it wasn't just a straight line. But back to actual Europe. Yeah. Finland owned all the stuff, Norway, Sweden, United Kingdom, Ireland, but where everything gets really confusing is in Western Europe. Spain is normal. Portugal has its own entire section in this video, due to the fact that it seems more of a main character rather than the country. Now, France, social, but in later ones it's Socialist Republic. I'm pretty sure it just said Socialist Republic. And even later, it's completely different. It's in French. I'll explain it in a minute. But Belgium, let me just get a nice screenshot for you guys to really just absorb it in. There we go. Belgium is just the Belgian anarchy, but for some reason it's misspelled in every single teaser to be the Belgium anarchy, but without the. So it's just, quote, Belgium anarchy, unquote. Oh, it seems that there's no information on the Netherlands as much as I could see, but the name of the country is the NATO administration of the Netherlands, so I'm guessing there's that maybe some sort of Belgian anarchy like spread in the Netherlands, and that the remnants of NATO took over the Netherlands to keep a foothold in Europe. Because I had to get into the whole lore section of this Western Europe. I'll pull it up just in not collateral, but in cooperation, so that you understand a bit more. So this is what Red Spectre was meant to be like. Now, get the fuck away. But in the beginning, the whole reason everything's fucked up, like the point of differentiation or whatever, is a 2008 obsession, which apparently was much more harsh to France than in any of our actual modern day lives. But France slowly became more isolated and right-wing until a civil war broke out in which the leftists gained power, socialism, communism, all that crap, and slowly started spreading their ideology across Western Europe, leading to a 2016 German Civil War in which the remnants of the far right translated to the Polish border, basically teaming up with Poland to create this Germanic national government. That's what it's called, which began absorbing more parts of the Visegrad group, and I'll explain later. But in some teasers, it has completely annexation of Slovakia under this Poland Germanic, like Poland Germany. I'm just gonna call it that, Poland Germany, or just Poland. That'd be even better. But Poland usually just has Slovakia as a protectorate, so it does for Czechia and Hungary. But those are the main additions that lead up to 2019, along with Russia apparently returning to socialism, Italy going to socialism, as I said, NATO taking power in the Netherlands, and Portugal goes into a civil war post-start date. So I should have moved that down there. But USA, as every single mod known to man, will always have a civil war. It always collapses. It's for gameplay purposes, which would be really cool if I actually got to see a map of the mod. But all I get is teasers and just a single map of Europe that I have overanalyzed with multiple other teasers, which are probably just early development, which I have created an entire system of just mapping out, even though I could have just used the latest teaser and just understood and used that one. But I didn't. So you get to deal with that. But there's a Chinese Civil War, which is described as something very hard to actually get the fire off. And yep, Portugal Civil War happens post start date. But yeah, that's why French is socialist. Belgium probably in anarchy due to that. Luxembourg doesn't matter. Germany has, for some reason, a demilitarized zone in the Rhineland. For some reason. Austria, for some reason, Croatia owns the Slovenian coastline. Okay. Yeah, look at that. For some reason, they just own that. I don't know why. Right there. Bosnia-Herzegovina is basically the same. Croatia actually jets more into Serbia, but they also own Vojvodina for some godforsaken reason. All the parts that aren't part of Croatia. Macedonia, Kosovo, and Albania are all independent. Greece, with no lore, is just the Hellenic Kingdom. Turkey is the same. Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan are the same. There was no really good information on this area. I'll get into this later, but Romania. In some of the teasers, Romania owns Moldavia or Moldova, but in the other ones, it's independent. Let's get into the more in-depth part of the zones. Now, in much earlier trailers or teasers, Belarus actually owns Vilnius, but that is clearly reversed, and eventually it just goes back to Lithuania. Now, it's definitely protectorate. In later editions, Slovakia is intended to be a protectorate under the Germanic national government instead of just being completely annexed. But I guess it might be like an option to do it, maybe. Maybe, I'm just kind of guessing. Now, I'm thinking that Romania probably just owns Moldova. Good for them. I'm looking careless. Portuguese Civil War. I'll expand on that at the very end, but still, yeah. Owned by Germany. There's again an early. In the early teasers, there's more of they use a TNO style of UI, and and they owned Kaliningrad for some reason, but in every other teaser, it's owned by Russia. I might have to find that, but oh yeah, with Luhansk and Donetsk. In some of the teasers, they only occupy this most southwestern part of Ukraine, but in other ones, they own up to that northern part of the border with Russia. Like, imagine this part actually owned by Luhansk instead of just being squeezed into this little area like they own that little part too. This southern bit of Germany I'm going to say is probably owned by Germany itself and not Poland, but in the most detailed teaser, it is owned by Poland, but in later ones, it's also owned, it's owned by Germany. I don't know why it would be military restricted or demilitarize their allies, I guess, but I guess change social structures in the continue. I don't know, bullshit, man. Yeah, and Italy, pretty sure that's a social republic because a lot of the teasers later on refer to a fight against socialism as the entrenched government, and as like more Republicans fighting against them, like in Republic, like the word Republican, not the American Party, but Republicans fighting against socialists, and socialists are defined as the ruling government at the time. So I'm guessing that by the end of the development cycle for Red and Spectre, it ended up with Italy being a socialist republic. And Switzerland is the exact same. Yeah. No fun allowed. Now, you know the best thing about Faustian Torment, except for ruining my life? It has no contradictions. It's just really hard to read. You know, if you had the pictures in Discord, if you had all the Reddit, it'd be so much easier for you to understand all this information, wouldn't it? But it's not. You decided to watch this video, and you decided to allow me to introduce you to all of this bullcrap. Still, as I was saying, God damn it! I forgot to talk about the lore, the funnest part. So I'm figuring this is probably just the original start date of 1936, but there was no established timeline. There were just facts that were just kind of fed to me through Reddit comments and Discord messages. I didn't even leave a message in Discord. I think I asked her once earlier on in my research if these were separate mods, but she hasn't responded. I don't think she's actually posted anything mod related since about either really early 2025 or like the end of 2024, but there was like some just random Discord messages in the last couple of days. But I haven't gotten mine responded to, and I don't really need it responded to because I've already kind of figured it out. But the French Revolution is described as being contained within just France. It didn't really explode with the Napoleonic era, taking over all of Europe and just, laying waste to everything. It seemed more just, oh, we're a republic now. Cool. Iberia it starts off as a revolutionary republic, which in Red Spectre would have been an entire process. But apparently they win against Britain, and Britain also loses against Ireland and Scotland all at the same time. So they don't really get any chance to expand into the Americas even more. In Bohemia, which seems more of a primary cast of this mod, it's ruled by artists and alchemists who want to take over the Holy Roman Empire. Whatever's left of it, look at that bullshit. Modern day borders, and Poland is actually pushing into it a little bit more, so it looks even more ass. I digress. But the Slavs unite in the south to basically defend themselves against Austrian and Ottoman aggression. There's more Gnosticism, which is a earlier sect of Christianity, in which I think I didn't exactly do too much research into it, but I'm pretty sure it's more defined as like the God described in the Bible is one of a lot. Maybe I think he's like the supreme God, and he has a million like little gods, kind of like a Greek pantheon that do his will, and like you can pray to each of them to get like better at, like you can pray to the god or like the demigod or mini god or spirit or whatever of drawing, and then you draw like me, so you're really good at it, I think. I don't know, man. I didn't really look too much from it. I just know for a fact that there's a lot more of that. Seeing as it's not just is represented in the Faustian Torment, but also in Red Spectre, which is just so fun. All this interconnecting doesn't make research into this hard as shit. So fun. But Russia is under Polish supervision, so there was never really formation of a modern day Russia. So, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot more Mongolian settlement in, past the Urals. Tartary and shit like that. Prussia never became a massive force on the world stage due to losing a war against Saxony and Poland at the same time, going back to just being the duchy like Pomerania, basically. But yeah, and I would talk about Scotland, Ireland being English ass, and this is the weird thing about America. It's described as completely empty, not like empty, but there's like coastal civilizations of European cultural refugees trying to escape, like, religious persecution. Bless you. But, yeah, they're escaping religious persecution, and only the fear or the bravest had to venture into the continent. Oh, jeez. I was about to sneeze again. But, yeah, it's described as, like, the only people who are able to live, like, deeper within the continent are those who are able to put up with all the supernatural bullshit. Like, tribesmen or like the coolest pilgrims. But yeah, like that. Alright, let's actually describe the maps for all you deaf people. Now, all these duchies, principalities, and are all under the basically control of Poland, Lithuania. Kingdom of Poland, Lithuania, the Grand Duchy of Livonia, Principality of Ruthenia, the Grand Duchy of Ukraine, and the Duchy of Crimea. With the Republic of Moskva, it's not Moscowian or whatever. That's just its own thing. Republic of Novgorod, the Confederation of Tartars. I can't read that, but it has the same color as this thing, which is green, even though there's a lot of content, there's a picture and a description and some ominous poems about Great Scythia, which I'll expand on later. And then some other random nation over there. Don Cossack host. I could barely read this. It was Kingdom of IR and then something AM. So I just kind of put REM because that's what I kind of guess it would be. There's some sort of Turkmen state. There's Iran, and from what I saw, it was a bigger Iraq that kind of expanded to Kurdistan. Yeah, the one where Iran and Iraq fought that war over for 8 years. The reason why they did that area. You know what I mean? Yeah, an independent Syria. Maybe it might be connected to the French Republic, but Sublime Ottoman state. The Thracian condominium controls Constantinople, Byzantine order, which these two might be connected, seeing as this is Byzantine, but I didn't label that one. It's just Albania. All Slavic nation, the Kingdom of Romania, Kingdom of Bessarabia, Great Austria. Now we get into the more weird stuff. That's the Bohemian Empire. Oh, there we go. That's the Bohemian Empire right there, if you needed to know that. But I'll try and get a nice picture so you can like screenshot this, and there we go. Yeah, and as you can see, this is Faustian Torment, like I didn't already say. Yeah, North Sea Commonwealth, which I think another thing that they actually talked about was that Cromwell actually won in the Civil War. Like his ideals continued on with England being no monarchy, and I guess they joined in with the Dutch too. Maybe it's like the Orange Revolution happened, but they decided to not use them as kings. I don't know, man. Swedish Empire, the Kingdom of Denmark, it controls this part of Norway and its actual, like Schleswig and Holstein and all of actual Denmark. The Republic of Pomerania, this is where it gets into all of these small things. The Kingdom of Saxony, the Protectorate of Hanover, Kingdom of Westphalia, the Kingdom of Bremen, which I think I read somewhere that was a bit more revolutionary than a lot of other places, so it may have been like one of those more content-ridden hellholes that actually needs covering, but it wasn't, so I swear to God, I hope it wasn't. But that one's a Rhinish Republic right there. That one's the Baden-Württemberg. There's no real denomination of either its kingdom or republic, it's just the name. And then the Kingdom of Bavaria. Switzerland is a little bit smaller due to France kind of incursion of it. Iberian Revolutionary State. It starts like that. Yeah, and later on, I guess there's something about it. I'll talk about it in a minute. Kingdom of Sardinia, and then Italy is broken up into the Kingdom of Two Sicilies. The Papal State, I have no idea who controls Rome. French Republic does control Sardinia, though. But the Grand Duchy of Tuscany, the Republic of Italy, and finally the Republic of Piedmont. Was that so hard? Yes, it was. Alright, yeah, this is for later. This is for way later. That's like the end of the video. I know I'm saying everything is like for later, but still. For Red Spectre, China is described as though that there could be a Chinese civil war, like if you work really hard to it, but the picture they showed didn't really like define which nation controlled what area. It was just a clip art map of China divided into a bunch of pieces, and there's a bunch of flags and people who probably represent those flags. So I kind of just had to make up whatever. I'm guessing there's probably just a central government and that has Xi Jinping. I'm thinking that might be this one, which seems more like a military administration. It could, I don't know, man. It's one of these two, but there's a more agrarian looking thing because that's looking like a plow. That might be this one. It's kind of split, but Mao, yeah, it just has a picture of Mao and then some writing in Chinese. All like these four basically could all just be in this area. There's some sort of administration in out of Mongolia. This word, it's just a black background with this whited out on it, and that could be more like the extremist sort of ideology. There's a path definitely to get an Emperor Xi, such like the 1916 emperorship of China, which didn't really last too long because it literally has he has the exact same portrait and clothing on as the Emperor of China. Not like the Qing Emperor, just that one guy who was emperor for like 5 minutes in the 1916s. So there's also some Tibet Nazi stuff going on. So right there, and there's a separate Tibet along with Saibing Saima. And for some reason, Xinjiang is divided into. Ain't that interesting? But yeah, that's all of Asia. Okay, now to actually get into all the lore and stuff. That's for later. Now, I'm going to say the whole Sao Tome is more of a Red Spectre sort of thing, where this is a very small Gulf island in the Gulf of Mexico, and it seems a bunch of Irish fascists got together and cooed the place. It's a real party, too. I looked at their website. It's nutty. Simusit Fascisti? It's a real person, too. They advertise this. But basically, it seems like they all gathered a bunch of weapons from the French Civil War. Went to Seo and say whatever you. It says Principe, I think that's like the capital of it. Yeah, that's what they march on. Like march on Rome. But they take it over, and it seems like more. And they describe it as a like fiume Italian fascism. And you can definitely see it's as the fact that he's wearing a Italian officer or cap, looking like Mussolini. And here's the rough idea of their focus tree. It seems like a small one due to the fact that it has like 2 small islands you can barely even see on the map. March on Principe, the power and affection, and it splits into 2. No hard feelings, revive futurism, and then the 2 values of fascism? I think I wrote that down. Building a paradise and paradise born. Now, this is the Faustian Torment Iberia, which has a good amount of content, and I also expand on it into the other, and on this completely other piece of paper that just is rambling on about this stuff, because that's how it feels to read all this. Because I just scroll through the Discord and all the Reddit stuff and just screenshot everything, and now I'm just kind of babbling incoherently to the camera just to have you understand it. And I just kind of deal with that. But yeah. The Iberian Revolutionary Republic definitely. It begins with elections in which just a central council is representing the people, like the leader of it. And there's a four-way election, and there's Mary, and she has the most content, it seems to me, with Republic of the Cosmos as the name of the place. Probably they probably had to go down a shorter tree just to get to that name, or like more, radical and stuff. Or it might just be on day one when they just get chosen by the player to be the leader of the country. Or the Iberian Federative Socialist Republic, PBR, the Federation of Free Societies by Rio Branco, and the Iberian Syndical Republic with Pedro de Almada as its leader. There's also independences, which are more like Spanish and Portuguese nationalists, but there's no way for them to win. There's no way. I got the tree over here. There we go. Now, the pre-election tree starts with the first one, the new man today, splits in three. His ferocious spirit goes down to all for one. The other one goes his greater vision. His grand rejuvenation is the third. Goes down to one for all, and it all converges on now the future. So I figure that's probably when they have the elections and everything, or I don't know, however they do elections. But in the event of a PPR or the Iberian Federative Socialist Republic victory, you can choose. I'm pretty sure you can choose to basically role play as Marie and coup the government, and take over. And it starts out with, how could this be? What can I do? Not like this. Traitors, all of them. I won't back down now. The future's in my hands. That's probably when she wins. This is for later. This is for the fun part. This is for the worst part. This is all for Red Spectre. The last one I was just talking about was for Faustian Torment with all the Iberian Socialist Republic or whatever. But yeah, Red Spectre has a lot of content, and I decided to content this by drawing on a piece of paper. Crazy. But Germany has definitely the most past from what I'm able to see. Now, I'll just go from left to right. It starts off with just a Marxist administration, or it's either that or a German Revolutionary Council. I'm guessing it can go either one at this point. But it starts out with, there's three possible leaders for technocrats. She's a lot younger than how I depicted her, but they're all women who are technocrats, and they can all lead to the summoning or the building of a god called Lilith, all for different reasons, and it creates this super event called the Birth, and it described that they can either be doing it for a Seraphim or Ephilim. I've only heard that in Supreme Commander. I don't know what that is. I only want to know what that is. And they all have these things next to them. Like, they all have these symbols in another picture. Like, they had the biblically accurate angel for this more shaggy-haired woman. Straighter one with glasses has the Gnostic symbol next to her. And this one has just a triangle with a split down the middle. 3 eyes on one side and 4 on the other. I don't know what that means. As I was saying, I don't know what that means. I don't really know what that has to do with anything. What is that? I hope it's not something that gets me called a Nazi. That'd be really cool. Another one is the Marxist-Leninist, and it's just a woman in, like, a coat and a beanie, and that's about it. Luxembourg, she could be this one. They were really similar. They describe themselves as like going into a new age. There's not really that much, but Schultz, who was the former president of Germany or chancellor, yeah, he's described as more of a moderate and like a closeted democracy enjoyer. But then the way I just showed him is like wolf and sheep. I think somebody like one of the teachers described him like that too. Then the RAF, and I'm pretty sure that's an old socialist revolutionary thing back in like the 80s and 70s, back in like the actual world. And there's two parts of it. There's the RAF left, which is trying to return more to a GDR, Eastern Germany sort of life, police state, Stasi, that sort of stuff. And then there's Nazis, straight up Nazis. That's how they describe them. Not like the Black Sun from TNO reference, guys. Look at that. We got the fun one that's just so confusing to read about, because on one end it looks like a monster, on another end it's described as satanic, on the other end it's described as following the council. It's described as whatchamacallit, I don't know how to describe this, but like a human created by other humans in a vat. It could just be a robot, like that Long March AI or Logi from the Fire Rising. I'm referencing the Fire Rising a lot because I really want to play it, but I can't because my computer's busted. This probably would be a lot easier if I just explained on my computer and actually wrote down a script instead of just rambling on through my notes. But I described it as something called Project Ascension, and it's so brutalist. It's like just knowing about it can get you like 10 years or just die. And this is the symbol for it. And I made a little bunch of caricatures so it's easy to understand. The Germanic national government is led by Frank Franz, an actual Nazi, an AFD politician, and you all know who that is. Don't even try and lie about it. I would describe these ones. Poland plus Nazis. That's what the flag looks like. It's black on top, yellow on the bottom, and they have like that. Like I just said, Himmler, Tino, swastika, which is just so fun to draw. So very fun. Hopefully no one ever sees this. Now for Italy's content. This one's weird. From what my research was saying to me, it seemed that Italy starts off as the Italian Social Republic. In one of them, there might be some separatist activities with Padanian nationalism. Padanians are northern Italians, so I'm thinking there might be some sort of civil war that could happen if you go down the worst path. It's like a green, there's a Venice, and some black flower. I don't really know about it, but there's a communist, which is described as there's 3 paths for the communists winning either the election or just like becoming in power in the government. There's a Trotskyist, there's a Marxist, and there is a progressive. Progressive seems more like a social democrat. Trotskyist is more eternal revolution, trying to spread it to the rest of the world, and the Marxist is I don't even know, man. Republican, and this is less like modern day Republicans, like a U.S. sense, and more just somebody trying to go back to like just liberal, like neoliberal centrist way of electing people. And it's split into Berlusconi, the right nut, and some other guy. He's like the main Italian rightist politician, and yeah. Then Mussolini's granddaughter is also a candidate to either like coup the government, and it can either go to some random person, some random woman, or just her. It could also be more directed to the Seo and Tome situation, where that might just be connected to that. Yeah. Then for France, I almost forgot. There was a German socialist victory against the Germanic national government, sort of a like teaser, like if they won a war against them, like some auto-made deal, where they annex Austria, and all of these become puppets of the socialist administration. Or Marxist, I don't fucking know. Now with France, oh, good God. Let's start with the weirdest one. I don't know how to pronounce. I don't know how to pronounce that one. But it's some lady who got rejected from the Socialist Party, so she went on for rocker and got like 1% of the vote. And the way she described herself as a Stalinist, somebody who's against completely against religion, completely against capitalism, and is by the name of Celine Barra. Now the Jacobins, I really only understand this by a super event. Obviously they're against Nazis, but they're also against German internationalism, like the German brand of communism. Republicans, I couldn't find any really information on it. I can't really find anything on it. There's a lot of information about kingdoms and empires though, like Orleans restoration, Bourbon restoration. So I kind of made a little bit of a chart. Some shitty meme. Some I'm pretty sure they'll probably be really socially conservative, so that against socialism, new ideas, and probably the gays. And then there's so many images of possible kings for it that I just made this little representation where a bunch of them are trying to go for the kingdom. This is the name that France starts out with at the beginning of the mod, or at the start date of the mod. Domaine de Ien Révolution Nationale under Fabien Roussel. And there's some sort of counter-revolution reactionism, and there's some other dude. I don't even know. He's probably with the Kingdom and Empire sort of ideals. And the old one started them off with just the French Socialist Republic, but like the original idea of how this was going to work, it would just start as French Socialist Republic under the guise of Jean-Luc Mélenchon, and I think he's an actual socialist politician in France, and it was either going to be divided between himself ruling, Céline Barra, and Fabien Roussel running for an election that the player would, decide who would run. But I guess later in development, it became a lot more, sprinkled out. There was a lot more options. That's probably later in the game, if like under some civil war. Brazil is in a civil war. That's as much as I can tell you, and that's all you're going to get. You can find the information. You can look like I did, but no, you're just going to watch the video and you're just going to accept that Brazil doesn't really get any content. South America doesn't really matter anyways. Remember that. Now with Russia, it seems kind of like Z Socialist Nationalist because it has that orange, black, and it's just the Russian flag, but with like a star made of that red and orange, or no, that orange and black sort of color scheme that they've been using for the last couple of years. It's described in some earlier accounts that there was going to be some civil war, but the way the teaser would describe it, it didn't really have anything concrete. It was just like a comic book where it just kind of described their roles, kind of like in Death of Stalin, where it's like the comedian, the whatever, this one. But instead, it's the president, the reformer, the revolutionary, the rebel, the revolutionary, the rebel, or Leninites, and the schemer, which is Putin, the punk, no idea, and the demagogue. And he seems more like a national Bolshevik, the demagogue, because I saw his face right next to a flag with the Bolshevik sign blacked out with a white circle around it, and red, which is basically just a Nazbo sign. But yeah, here's what the Russian Civil War was going to look like. It was going to have just the original government. Forget all of this. It only goes up to here, like the teaser. She didn't even finish the actual teaser and then released it. But it was just going to have actual regular Russia with some sort of communist area right here and another one right here, and the original government occupying this area. And I guess this might be some sort of breakaway Siberia. Yeah, that's all the Red Spectre stuff for the countries that aren't the main character, because we haven't even gotten to that yet. We are 40 minutes in, and we haven't gotten to that part yet. Wherever it may be. I got here. I made it. I should have it. Oh, this is just embarrassing. Here it is. Yes. I'm playing with my Portugal right now. I'm straight up Portugaling it. I'm on that shit. But, okay. Seeing as the original creator is from Portugal, it's kind of understandable to have them as the main character, or main country, basically, of this mod. Where, this is rambling on, but not just me, but also the mod itself. Portugal will start out like just a regular republic. I forgot to actually to add some characters, but there's some more other like more liberal instead of socialist people who are like artists, like old people. I'm horrible at describing this, but the main character of Portugal is this Celeste Rosa, which is spelled as Celeste Rosa. Yeah, fun. And originally, instead of like having her be shown as like an actual person, it would just use a picture of Joan of Arc. Great idea, man. Great idea. Because it was like her hiding behind the ideals of, artistic militarism, socialism, whatever. But, yeah, I'm just getting some stuff ready for later. But she changed the Portugal, or the Celeste Rosa picture to an actual person, and she just gave her a mask, something like that. And the civil war that would be induced by Portugal would have three main factions. The original republic, which would still have control of whatever that city's name is, I forgot it. The socialists in the south, and then the Porto Red Army would start off here, and that's where you could get Celeste Rosa from. And if she wins and takes control of the whole place, she changed the name to the People's Republic of Lusitania. And the way I described it, it was a artistic, militaristic, expansionist socialist nation. Republic has no content further. The Portuguese Socialist Republic originally had a flag with boobs on it. What was it? Well, the way she described it, she was trying to find a. I'm talking about this like I'm talking to her, but she basically found a. She was trying to find a clip art of some lady holding a flag, but she couldn't find it, so she just used a picture with a girl with tits out. And yeah. There's another teaser that described like the factions of the Socialist Unity Party right there. A red guard, which I figure is probably this one because they share the same logo. The National Syndicalist, the moderates, and the previous communists and syndicalists kind of absorbed into the party. Now, in the event that Portugal, as a socialist nation, takes over Spain, which seems almost like the main point of the mod at this point. But if they do that, there's either a chance or it's guaranteed that they will rebel with either 3 factions rebelling or just one main faction rebelling against Portugal's rule. And the way they described it, it seemed either that it could be both if these guys are heading Portugal or if Celeste Rosa are heading Portugal. But I'd guess, since it said if socialists are ruling over Portugal in a federal sense, I lean towards both of them being able to have the revolt. I don't really know, man. I didn't make the mod. I don't really know. But it could either be 3 different revolts all under their own ideology, or just one main revolt that could go 3 separate ways, which seemed to be more of a green leftist sort of path, a monarchist, and some random other one that I could just not understand. Because it looked socialist. It had a red flower and everything, but it was just so out of left field to expect somebody rebelling from a socialist nation to also be a socialist. Unless it's like a national socialism, and at that point, it's less about socialism, it's more about nationalism, and you trying to escape the nationalist forces because they're nationalists and not because they're socialist. I don't know what I just went on, but still. And there's another teaser that revealed that you could conquer most of Europe either as a faction or directly annexing a majority of it. And I wrote it down over here. Now, Iberian Proletariat Republic, that's what it named at when you conquer all of Iberia. And you can be the Proleta Res Publico, which in Portuguese means the Proletariat Republic, no shit. And that's when you control all of Europe. Or the European Proletariat Federation is when it has a faction, probably with its center in Portugal. I forgot but yeah. But I have a little conspiracy. It's 99% not even true, but there's a small possibility that all this Celeste Rosa stuff might just be a Red Flood submod, and that terrifies me because there's so much of the Celeste Rosa stuff that's kind of integrated into the teasers for Red Spectre that it seems like it wouldn't be, but there's just the smallest possibility that it could. But yeah, that's why I wrote it down. Just the smallest possibility of all this stuff being a completely different mod. And I've already gone over the Iberian socialist stuff for the Faustian Torment. Yeah. And then here. One down, a lot to go. Now, the USA, as I said, collapses. And I've kind of compiled all the ones that I was able to, all the factions that were available in the teasers, but there's no map of it. I just know for a fact that they exist. Now, there's a black socialist nationalist sort of thing. There's a Proud Boys, and I think it was probably just a meme, but it kind of showed them being together for some reason. I don't really know how that would even work. AOC with an eye patch. Some stock image guy was described as being a leader of America, and he looked evil because he was like shouting in darkness. And Trump can go either of 2 ways, with either a libertarian, like QAnon autocrat sort of thing going on, or a populist reform socialist, which, how the fuck would that work? People's Supreme Council, the Oppressed People's Liberation Army, which I literally just uploaded as the super event, which I scraped off the Discord. And I thought it was Birdman, and then I looked further in. It's Kanye. It's Kanye when he went on that 2022 rant on Alex Jones. And I left a little spot blank just in case I found any other ones, which I didn't. Now I've just been talking about both the lore and of Europe, but this is of what we really know for the rest of the world. And just for all the South America viewers, the one guy, if any, it's meant to say America, South America doesn't matter. The Americas, as I said, this is for Faustian Torment. Africa, it's described as a really good place. There's an entire super event, I think that's actually on YouTube, called The Future Arrives, where it describes Africa as this perfect futuristic place where everyone's happy, it's isolated from the rest of the world, and it's amazing. It's progressive, it's amazing. It's just the birthplace of humanity and shit like that. Probably the way they describe Faustian Torment is where a lot of new ideas are coming into the world, and reactionism is stifling those, and I guess revolutions across all of Europe and shit like that, and Faustianism being its completely own ideology. But I guess it all kind of either originated from just a wave of ideas hitting people's heads at the right time, or it could all just be originally from Africa. Something like that. In Asia and Europe, same idea, just, yeah, new ideas versus reactions, and as America, I already talked about. That's for later. Speaking of ideologies, these are all the ideologies for Red Spectre, which I had to kind of guess on some of them because I couldn't find the actual explanation of what they were. I just knew that there's a certain amount of them, and this is how it goes. If there's a plus next to it, that means I kind of just guessed, and I'm just kind of describing the logo of it. There's fascism. There's a Caesar-looking one, something about war, something about autocracy, and something about a king. There's actually two sets of sub-ideology icons. One of them was a lot more rudimentary, but another one, I think she paid somebody to make them, or just like found somebody to make them. Anarchism, based on other icons. I was able to actually find the names for some of them, or like a new version of them for Faustian Torment, but something with a dog skull, something with just a dog, something with a gun, and something with the recycling looking logo. Marxism. Actually, I can actually read these this time because I found a Discord teaser where she had to just admit to what they are. Marxist-Leninism, regular Leninism, Maoism, and Luxemburgism, which I think is some sort of vanguard socialism. It was very hard when I looked it up. As soon as I looked it up, somebody was like, well, it didn't really exist because it was based on Rosa Luxemburg's ideas in her contemporary life as a socialist during the early 20th century. And her opinions on the Soviet Union and Trotskyism. And I was like, shut the fuck up and tell me what it is before I rip your nuts off. And so somebody else just said it. It's just like vanguard socialism, which I don't really know exactly what it is, but it seems more just, I'm pretty sure vanguard socialism is just kind of just a foot in the door sort of socialism to drawing the population to a more powerful version of socialism. And socialism being just a gateway to communism. Fuck me. Why am I explaining this to you? You've been reading the conservatism in part. I hate the word tism right now. God damn. But conservatism, there's right-wing populism, right-wing libertarianism, and neoconservatism. Now, there's liberalism, which has libertarianism, social liberalism, and some sort of... She said that they might be part of... that anarcho-capitalism could be part of liberalism, but she also said it could be part of another one. It's somewhere on here. Yeah, it's in the revisionist socialism. But neoliberalism and objectivism, and then there's despotism, and I don't really know what these ones were, so I just described them. Caesar, something with a star, something with capitalism, which is a bag of money, something with the king. I guess that's more of like a corporatism sort of thing. I don't really know what the star was. It was very weird to understand. And that's probably just monarchism. Esotericism. Some circle that kind of look like the black sun, but a bit less Nazi, because it's curved. Some Illuminati triangle, and then this fucking symbol. I don't know what that is. All three of them are probably represented by those German technocrats I described like 30 minutes ago. But yeah, revisionist socialism can be split into Dengism, like Deng Xiaoping, agrarian socialism, Chauvinism, the Red Junta. That's probably where that whole weird lady person came from. That, Satan monster robot person. This one. If you found the image, you would understand that that's a really good picture that I just drew of it. Good job, me. But social democracy. This is really confusing. Because on one hand, there's I should have put a plus next to them, but I sent it with 3 arrows, with them with a hat, and with them people. And I also described it as neo-socialism. But then also up here I put with a hammer, and a sickle, and a jackman. These are This is probably the older version of the logo, and this is probably the new one. But that kind of brings us into Faustian Torment's ideologies, which are very similar to the other one, but I could really only find the ones, the teaser describing the most extreme of them. Reactionism, which, as it describes, is a reaction to the Faustianism stuff, with old aristocracy, fundamentalism, hermetism, which I don't even know how to think of, folkism, return to old gods, despotism with praetorianism, personalism, which had Caesar as it, revolutionary nationalism, republican dictatorship, and theocracy and monarchism. Lassallism, I don't even know what that is, man. I don't even have any concept of what that could be, but there's self-reliance, there's Red Nation, and National Vanguard. If you didn't understand what I was already talking about, I'm talking about the sub-ideologies. These aren't just words I put on paper. Anarchism, I could actually find the sub-ideology names: social anarchism, individual anarchism, lawlessness, and national anarchism. Faustianism, which is described as the main point of the mod, it's the big one with cosmism, heroism, Prometheanism, rejuvenationism, and probably the other ones that aren't here, like liberalism, conservatism, and neo-socialism. Seeing as there is a nation on the Faustian Torment thing that I didn't talk about, which is a socialist nation. That one right there. That one, it was originally the Free Prussian. It was really hard to read. The Free Prussian Socialist Republic. I should have read that earlier, but we're getting really close to the end of it. This 1 hour shit show. Great Scythia has an entire Reddit post to itself. I don't even know how to describe it. This is probably a later formable from a nation probably deeper into Central Asia, which is right. I couldn't see it when I was looking at the Faustian Torment map of Europe. But yeah, this is the Caspian Sea, so that's why I couldn't be able to see. Here, I'll bring it back up. But this is green in the Faustian Torment images. This is yellow. I didn't really want to look too much into it because I was already really tired, and this video is an hour long like the other one. And Great Scythia, I'm deciding not to put this all on one piece of paper, but they got 3 national spirits: ancient modernity, riders of tomorrow, womb of Europe, under control of Hagamasha III, and these are all positive, so I'd figure they're probably late game buffs, but the lore is blah, blah, blah. You can go to Reddit and you can find it yourself when you look at Faustian Torment. Because I've done all this for you guys. And, this series takes a toll, which is why it takes 2 weeks to make this, because it's tedious to make. I want to get that 1 hour mark so it looks a bit more official, but I would describe this as fun. Oh, I know what to pad the time out with. I know exactly what to do. I can air out the dirty laundry of the Discord server. Oh yeah, let's pull that out. There it is. I'll go one by one. So in an earlier conversation in 2022, there is pictures of a almost nude gay demon. And later ones, this is a very tame interpretation of 2 guys fucking. This is Paulie from The Sopranos. They don't even write it like it's Paulie, but they use this graph to try and it's definitely a meme. They're all joking, right? It's in the dev shitpost section of the Discord mod, but it's basically trying to justify the fact that the massacres under socialism, under like China and Russia during their transitions into communist countries, like their massive population degrowths were faked, saying that like the massive expansion of population underneath Maoist China in the 70s was real, and that the deaths of the tens of millions under his regime was faked by, I don't know, like other politicals. Oh yeah, some dude's house was on fire too. And I think he may have been the exact same person who is posting pictures of his abs in the Discord server. And his fuck-ass face on the back of a car. I don't know why I'm so aggressive with this. No, I do. Because, okay. For some reason, if the person who's watching this owns the YouTube channel called Magni, this is such a coincidence that you uploaded a main theme of Pax Mother Wilkery the same 2-week span as I did. No one has uploaded a video about that damn mod in years. And as soon as I put one out and get 300 views, usually I put one up. You have shoegaze music as your main channel content. And I know I put a response under your comment that says, we're all cool, man. But motherfucker, if I find out, or if I dream about it, the fact that you stole my content, I'll burn my own house down and then find you. I'm joking. Or not. Yeah, I'm joking. I'm just trying to pad out the mark. Ooh, there's the 1 hour mark. Well, it won't be because I have to edit out a portion of this video where my face got revealed, but I don't know why you're still watching the video at this point. You can leave.